And news alert coming in just now. India has expelled a senior Canadian diplomat based in India. The Canadian High Commissioner to New Delhi was summoned to convoy that a senior diplomat needs to leave India in 5 days. The decision reflects Government of India's growing concern at the interference of Canadian diplomats in India's internal matter and their involvement in anti-India activities. Well, the much-anticipated moves comes as a countermeasure to Canada expelling a senior Indian diplomat earlier in the day. Now, this comes as Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau informed the country's parliament that there are, and I'm quoting as to what Trudeau exactly said, credible allegations linking Indian government to the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India has rejected the allegations as absurd and motivated. Well, for more on this, we're now being joined by a principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, who's joining us live from New Delhi. Hi, Siddhant. Big development coming in right now. The High Commissioner of Canada has been told that a senior Canadian diplomat has to leave India in the course of the next 5 days. What can you tell us on this?
Well, India-Canada relationship in their worst after the Canadian Prime Minister made serious allegations against India in the Parliament. We have seen those comments and now strong reaction from New Delhi. First, of course, India a short while ago summoned the Canadian High Commissioner. We know that after that, the Canadian side has been told that one of their senior Canadian diplomat is being expelled and has been asked to leave the country within 5 days. Development coming after after Canada expelled an Indian diplomat. But essentially, why India has expelled a Canadian diplomat is primarily because of what India has said, the interference by Canadian diplomats in India's internal matter. Now, this is perhaps the third time that a Canadian High Commissioner has been summoned in India, twice earlier this year, and of course, earlier, we know in 2020 also, Canadian High Commissioner, the then Canadian High Commissioner Nadir Patel was summoned. But essentially, it looks like that the relationship has gone back 20 or 10 years. And essentially, one of the key concerns for New Delhi has been the Khalistani concern. Now, we know that how India has several times pointed out over concerns related to Khalistani extremism in the country. And there have been so-called referendums in the country. In fact, one of the the so-called referendum took place on 10th of September, the day when the Canadian Prime Minister and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a meeting here in Delhi on the sidelines of the G20 summit, where the Indian Prime Minister had raised the matter, especially of the safety of the Indian diplomats. We know that in the past and several times it has been seen, several posters have been put up where Indian High Commissioner's picture and other diplomats' picture have been put up, and it is seen as something that is being targeted against the Indian diplomats. So safety of Indian diplomats is a concerning development for India, and India has raised the matter in the past several times, but there hasn't been any strong action taken by the Canadian government. At least that is to be seen from Delhi. But all in all, today's development is going to reverberate in long term as how relationship goes further. The relationship had started deteriorating in 2020 after comments by the Canadian Prime Minister, and since then it has fallen.
Right, Siddhant, the latest incident will clearly impact India-Canada relations at the moment, but thanks very much for joining us and sharing your insights with us on this developing story. Meanwhile, now let's listen in to what Justin Trudeau exactly said while making these allegations. Take a listen.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the Government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Our top priorities have therefore been, one, that our law enforcement and security agencies ensure the continued safety of all Canadians, and two, that all steps be taken to hold perpetrators of this murder to account.
Well, India's press release added that such unsubstantiated allegations, they seek to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorist and extremist. India says that it has been provided, that Canada has been providing shelter to them and they continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It further went on to say that the inaction of the Canadian government on the matter has been a long-standing and a major concern. This before urging the government of Canada to make prompt and effective legal action against all anti-India elements operating from their soil. Well, Hardeep Singh Nijjar was the chief of the separatist organization called Khalistani Tiger Force. The 46-year-old moved to Canada in 1997 from Jalandhar district in Punjab. According to the Indian government, Nijjar was actively involved in the operation and networking of the Khalistani Liberation Force. He was also active in the training and financing of its members. Well, he also allegedly visited Pakistan in 2013-2014 to meet with Jakhtar Singh Tara, who is currently serving a life imprisonment in India for his involvement in the assassination of former Punjab Chief Minister Beyant Singh. Nijjar was also friendly with Dal Khalsa leader Gajinder Singh, one of the 5 hijackers of an Indian airline flight in 1981. Nijjar was also booked by the NIA in December 2020. It also declared a cash reward of rupees 10 lakh for information leading to his capture. Now, during the farmers' protest in New Delhi, he was also associated with the Sikhs for Justice group. The SFJ separatist organization is banned in India. Well, he was last seen in Australia during the voting for the so-called Khalistan referendum there. Now, Nijjar was shot dead by 2 masked men in the parking of a Gurudwara in Canada's British Columbia in June this year. Months later, the unsolved killing continues in Canada. Trudeau told Parliament that he brought up the killing of Nijjar with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20 summit, which took place in India's national capital, New Delhi, just last week. Trudeau also added that he conveyed to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that any involvement from New Delhi would be unacceptable and that he asked for cooperation in the ongoing probe. Meanwhile, Canadian Foreign Minister has also said that a top Indian diplomat has been expelled as a consequence.
We will protect Canada's sovereignty. I've conveyed these principles to my Indian counterparts. And I've also told him that we expect India's full collaboration to make sure that we get to the bottom of this. And as of today, and as a consequence, we've expelled a top Indian diplomat from Canada.
On the other hand, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed strong concerns about Khalistani protests in Canada against India to Trudeau on the sidelines of the G20 summit again.